Well, hello everyone. The day has come and the hour has come when I first unpack my new iPhone 15. Congratulate me. I bought myself the 15th iPhone in black. With ordering from China is the most unusual thing. Many people order from where and buy where they go. They take Arabic iPhones to Dubai. Someone orders from Japan because they have it there too cheap. But Japanese iPhones take photos with sound all the time, so someone else somewhere should put them in silent mode orders. But I ordered from China because it was cheap there. At that time, I ordered it a month ago. I ordered it at the end of September. Now it is the end of October. I received it a month before me. It arrived and I took it for $930. I spent $930 for the basic one, iPhone. 15 is not the Pro version with 128 GB. Now such a phone costs $800. A little sad because if I had waited a month, I would have already taken it for $800. So Tim Cook, what have you prepared for us now? People will start writing why for 900, for 800 phone, 60 hertz phone, 128 gigs. For such, you can't put money on it. No banking apps. That's okay, contactless payment doesn't work. Nothing. Well, in short, he even loses some F5 on Android, loses exactly like this, and POC F5 can now be purchased on Alika for $350, that is almost 3 times cheaper, but the iPhone is an iPhone. Let's unpack it. Why did I still decide to take it? Specifically the Chinese version, because in China, exclusively Apple makes a special version for China. The Chinese market, big, huge, the biggest, probably. Now the market and all companies seem to be trying to get there. And please, Apple specially released and has been releasing for several years with 2 SIM cards with support for 2 SIM cards in China. This is very popular, and it was for China that they made an exception for the whole world has iPhones with 1 SIM card. Here there are 2 SIM cards, and this is, of course, a plus. iPhones from China are dual SIM. And if I insert my SIM cards here, they will work great. That is, there are no restrictions on operators such that it will only work with 2 Chinese SIM cards. No, you buy a Chinese iPhone. I don't know Georgian ones, and everything will be fine work here. And so I took it in black in general in this generation. I didn't like any color of the 15th iPhones except black because they were all kind of pale, as if they didn't report any colors. I don't like such pale, dull colors, so I decided to just take black. And even more so in this generation, black, it's expensive black, it's frosted glass on the back, but it looks like plastic. And this kind of matte coating is very beautiful. I'll show you now using the example of another iPhone of the 12th generation. What was the color black there, and what was the color black in the 15th generation? Guys, I have it here box with the 12th iPhone, and look how different the black ones are, the colors. That is, the 12th one was so glossy. There were always visible fingerprints on it. It glittered and didn't look right. Is it expensive? But the 15th one became like the Pro version, and it has this frame. There is this end. It seems to have become a little rounded, and because of this, it has become more convenient to hold in your hands than 14th, 13th. And before everyone had it at a right angle, here you see a right angle without rounding. Now it has become a little more streamlined for the hand. It's more convenient to hold it just in the hand. Well, the color is black became more noble by the way the camera block turned black. Here it was gray, and the back cover itself turned gray, unlike previous iPhones, but I like this one better, and it's also very practical. So I'm blundering it. Blundering fingerprints don't remain all the time. It's as if this surface is perfectly clean, it stays cool, I'm already confused. Where is which? Yes, we are removing this one. A new braided cable is included in the kit. Look at it. Now we have a braided cable, whereas earlier the previous iPhones had a cable. Well, like that, like rubber, not rubber. What kind of material is this? Now it's become flightable. I think that this should have a good effect on durability, becoming stronger. And now, our cable is not light, but USB Type-C. All AFO starting from an iPhone switched to a new one. Charging used to have a unique light connector, which was now only USB on iPhones Type-C, which on iPhones is on Android on laptops. That is, this is now probably the most popular connector in the world. So let's remove this one film. Oh, the first turn on. Let's turn it on where the button for switching modes of the 15th regular one was left. That is, this is a physical switch in silent mode on the left 2 buttons. Well, not a rocker, but 2 separate volume control buttons decrease. Increase the volume antennas running along the body on the right. The power button is huge. Without a scanner like Android, here instead of a scanner, there is a Face ID system and a connector at the bottom for charging speakers and microphone interlock located. We have a TIC cable included double-sided, and a small envelope with a paper clip and a needle and 1 apple, and the information about the iPhone is all in Chinese because it's intended for the Chinese market. Here is the entire kit, that is, buy an additional power supply separately. Case buy separately, headphones separately, in the general department. And look at the most pus on 2 SIM cards. We take it out, and here you see I can put it here too. I turn it over, and I can put a SIM card here. That is, it's really a double-sided tray with 2 SIM card supports. This is a miracle. Just a Chinese iPhone. This is now the best iPhone according to the version also in our country. The difference from the 14th is no longer a unibrow, but a full-fledged dynamic island is as it was with the 14th Pro iPhone, same dynamic island and VP Pro. That is, from the front, you can hardly tell the difference. The 15th from the 15th Pro, because they both have the same dynamic alum. So, well, you see the standard setup here. All languages are present. What is good about iPhone because it does not have any regional special firmware. If you buy a Chinese phone, there may be some firmware purely for China where there will be no Google services, and there won't even be a Russian language or Market Yes or some other phone there. There are always some different firmware versions. And the iPhone always has a firmware version. One is global for all over the world, anywhere in the world iPhone, you buy it, you configure it there, your language. The App Store will work. That is, this iPhone is good. Now I'll quickly go through this whole setup. Well, so my iPhone started up, I updated it to the new firmware, I have it updated without problems. This is what the desktop looks like. Well, Dynamic Island an iPhone with Dynamic before. Island what this is, of course, complete crap after the iPhones with their small holes for the front camera. I look at this and somehow I don't like it. This is my first impression. I'll probably get used to it later, but somehow, it's like I even got used to bangs and they weren't noticeable at all. But now as soon as I bought this iPhone and instead of bangs here I am like an island, I really can't even imagine what it's like. That is, for me, it's some kind of shock, as if it's a broken part of the screen, dead pixels. Or as if it's some kind of hole that's just black. I can't get used to it yet, but I'll have to get used to it somehow because otherwise there's no way I think it's going to be with us for a long time. It's quite big. This island, I honestly thought that it would be somehow it looks smaller in the pictures. But in life, it is really huge. And if you look closely, there is a system, this Face ID face. I checked the ID and it works at about the same speed as on the one on the 13th, maybe a little faster. Yes, it seems like the response is a little faster, but still the same iPhones still don't have this speaker. But it doesn't, it's just kind of black and the area is still expanding for all sorts of notifications. That is, it's still kind of playing out specifically. Yes, it's interesting that Apple is beating it. That is, you see, I switch it to silent mode and it's on my speaker. Island expands and displays this disappears, battery percentage disappears time. Well, in general. Dynamic Island is more of this type of toy just to play with it. They hit all the sensors, and in fact, the entire screen here remained the same in terms of characteristics as the 14th one, the 13th. But something has changed. The peak brightness has become 2000 nits, very bright screen. I already set the unrealistically bright screen to maximum brightness, but it remained at only 60 Hz. This is bad at the back glass, and at the front glass frame made of aluminum and metal. Then the diagonal is 6.1 inches, a very comfortable screen. It seems to me that the diagonal is not small and not large resolution of 2556 by 179 pixels. Gives all this, the ratio is 461 pixels per inch and the screen here is magnificent. I somehow don't see anything. Pixels. Well, in general, I really like the coloring, that is, the screen is just amazing. The only thing I would remove Dynamic Island and made the side frames a little thinner like the 15 Pro, because 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max frame is smaller, but not much, but still a little smaller in the screen settings. We can switch from a dark theme to a fast one. Very quickly, the switch to on Android, it takes longer. On Android, there is a slight delay when you switch between themes. The design is here. Direct in a second, it all switches very quickly. My theme changes to light. They did at least 90 Hz. We still have a screen of 60 Hz. Although now any Android for 20,000 will already offer 120 or 90 Hz is more unpleasant. 147 and 6 mm, length 71.6 width and thickness. The phone weighs only 7.8 mm and weighs 171 G. Initially, it comes out of the box on iOS 17, but as soon as I received it, I connected to Wi-Fi. It already found version iOS 171. I updated it, and that's it calmly. Version I have for 128 gigs. You see, I have two because I have two front SIM cards, SIM card and back SIM card. So, oh wow, cool. Look, there is even info on iPhone 5 below when the battery was made and when the iPhone started for the first time. That is, only in July I had my battery manufactured at a factory in China. and I used it for the first time in October 202 year, and here he even counts the number of recharge cycles while I have zeros. It's really as if I bought a car and the mileage is zero in here too. Well, the mileage is rarely zero, but because the car is being driven there anyway. I run it in somehow first there. The circle is made at the testing factory. And here it's just zero, really zero, it's worth it. And it's cool because in the future when you buy a used one iPhone, you can look when the battery was released, when it was started for the first time. How many charging cycles were there recharging? Well, I wonder how this counter will get twisted if you change, say, the battery for some other one. Will this reset it to zero? Or will he continue to count it as one battery? I don't know how it will work yet, but it's cool that they added such a function about the battery. It's in About This device. Let's go About It device. And below there is information about the battery. Also, we have not lost information about the battery. In the item battery status here should be 100% battery for new phones. Of course, that is a new phone, you buy it. You must have 100% capacity, that's it. So that's it, guys. Cool. And a cool feature they added that in terms of hardware here, we have an Apple processor. A 16 like this, same as it was in the iPhone. 14 Pro Max is still different from the Chinese one versions from others that here Fi is not called Fi, but VLAN in China for some reason. This is the designation for Wi-Fi. Then there is, well, don't scare me, it's just Fi, but for some reason in China it's called VLAN and on Chinese iPhones. Always like this. And they also say on Chinese iPhones there is no FaceTime. That is FaceTime. What is FaceTime for those who have not used an iPhone? That is a video call for Apple owners. That is call my friend who also has an iPhone via FaceTime from my Apple device. Although there is check the 100 icon, but I still don't use FaceTime. If I need to make a video call, I'm there via popular messengers I call and no problems at all. That is Fatime. These are all instant messengers, generally Apple ones applications. To be honest, I don't use it much. I mostly download everything and already use everything from the store that I use. I'm used to using it on Android. That's what I use. And on iPhone, I even have a keyboard. I don't use Apple Maps. That is, well, these Apple apps, what they are, what they don't exist, you can delete it, you can take it and delete it. That's all I want. Now test the phone that benchmarks for this. We go to Antutu. So, okay, and I press Statin. Well, let's see how many points he gets. Tutu, of course, he will lose some kind of top Android with the most powerful processor. And by the way, it's not the most powerful iPhone because the same 15 Pro and Pro Max are already running on the new 17 Pro processor, which is essentially last year's processor, which was installed in the iPhone. 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max. Oh, something small. Video test lags. There are bugs. Well, in short, okay, let's wait. I think how many 800? 900 he is. Probably we'll type something like Snap 8 Gen 1. Underestimated the guys. 1260000 points, but the screen brightness is true. Fell a little due to heating. You see the brightness was reset. Let's now measure it. Here it is the hottest place because the processor is somewhere here 41 degree. The frame is also hot. This one is aluminum. It's colder here and below is the coldest place. Well, here, right under the camera somewhere, is the hottest place, 41 degree. Well, listen, not bad. Pretty good one. 29.5. Yes, this is at the level of what Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is. Yes, about the same as Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. I got about the same amount, but I decided to see how the game would go with this dynamic island. The house, that is. You see, it does not disappear in any way, but it is always active, that is. It is always black. This icon cuts off a little here, well, just a little bit. I launched PUBG on maximum graphics settings, which I could only set high smoothness extreme, this extreme clarity there, or something there, the resolution is shorter. High, everything is very smooth, of course. Just like standard, some kind of gaming Android smartphone, an iPhone 15-14 naturally pulls everything at the highest settings and pulls everything without problems. And for another 5 years, everything will pull, even if not 7 years. That is, for a very long time. They still pull all the applications for them well optimized. By the way, I forgot to say that here I have version 6.128. You can, of course, select the version from memory. There is more internal, but the RAM will not change. The iPhone 15 is always 6 GB stereo sound is very high quality, not a single lag at all. But some may already find such a small screen inconvenient for games because Androids already have 6.66.5. If you often play games, you may need take the Plus version or About Ma to make it more convenient to play games. Because 6 and oh, well, not everyone will like it. Some will think small damn, well, how smooth everything is and how cool it is, just cool, and what a rich sound here from the speakers. This speaker works, and also the top one here is the cutout of it. It's hard to see here, I don't know whether you can see it or not. Here's a cutout in a frame. Conversational speaker. When you bring it to your ear from here, your interlocutor says you hear the thin cutout like on Android done. Now this is what dynamic consists of, island camera, and here the sensors are in this part of the bottom, and they seem to be between each other connected by such an isthmus. Yes, well, of course, dynamic island very big. This phone is also good because it has full protection from water, but like previous models there is nothing unusual. No, starting with iPhone 7, iPhones are protected from complete immersion in water and are not became an exception. You can also swim with it. You can fill it with something somewhere he will withstand all this. Although he is not so protected in normal times understanding like Chinese androids, yes, all hung with reinforced corners, but will be able to survive immersion in water. I would still advise you to buy a glass case for it. It won't be superfluous, which I like standard headphone jack in the near future. Here too, starting from Auto 7, this was removed. Headphones are supposed to be connected, okay, but do you know what else was changed in the 15th iPhone? Unlike from the 14th, they changed the main camera here and now on our 15th iPhone. It's the same as last year on the 15th Pro, on 14 Pro, on 15 Pro. This year, the main camera is 48 megapixels with aperture f1.6. And before the 14th, the 13th, the 12th had cameras at 12 megapixels, now at 48. And then I remember Androids, which are also we started with 48 pixels, then we took the level 64, then 108, and then 200. Here, this was the evolution of Android cameras, and Apple now seems to be following Android only with a lag somewhere, years on 4, RE on 5, and there are only 3 cameras, 2 rear ones and 1 front rear camera of 48 and 12 megapixels is a wide angle. The camera and the front camera are also 12 megapixels. What's there? I liked it. I already launched this camera. What's here increased? Zoom. If previously on iPhone 14, zoom was less, zoom was maximum 5-fold. Now I'll open the camera. Look, I have an iPhone 14. This is an iPhone 14, and the maximum zoom was 5 times. Now in the iPhone 15, the zoom is 10 times maximum. When recording video, it also plays PO, because when recording the video, I could Zazu only 3x, then now 6x, twice as much. I just is amazing. Only 3 times. Well, the increase is wildly small. Now it got a little better, really a little better, and now there's a very cool feature in the camera that is in the camera settings. We can go and adjust the resolution, that is go to camera below, find here formats, and below photo mode so that it turned out to be the maximum quality. You should set it to 24 megapixels. First of all, you will say, why not 48? Now I'll explain initially. You can generally take a photo 12, and this will be the most economical, 3 MB in total, will take up approximately a photo of 12 megapixels, will be 1.5 times larger. Oh, at 24 it will be on time, take up times more. You also need to turn on this control thing resolution, and then you can generally switch to 48. That is, it's like a 48 megapixel camera. But initially there will be a photo at 12. You need to set it to 24 and also set this one, and then you will have mode 48. How to enable mode 48? Go into the camera. JP appears here, Max we do. So that JP Ma was not crossed out. That is here, it is crossed out. Click here and take a photograph. And then the photograph will be taken precisely in 48 megapixels. If we remove it, will be done in 24. Look at this. 24 megapixel you can see, and if 24 MPix 4.7 MB. This is 48 already 8 MB. Let's see what we have. 48 megapixels, perfect, just fonts. I can distinguish everything on the poster. The letters that are at the very bottom are the smallest letters. That is, this is of course visible, this is visible, it is visible, it is seen. It is seen the lowest ones are also visible. I also see the mice well. That is, they are easy to distinguish from each other, and this is all visible, that is, it's just perfect. And here look at the foam canister too, I can read everything. Well, except for this one, but it's actually real here, it probably needs 1,000,000 megapixels so that he can take this one normally. That is, the camera is real, became very clear if you turned on the maximum mode, and I'll also note that even in this mode, well, it's still a photograph, does not weigh very much in 48 megapixel mode, less than 10 MB. I consider it a success. Such a clear photo, make it less than 10 MB so that it takes up. But the detail is simply simple. Awesome. I can now take a photo with the same iPhone, which had a 12 megapixel camera. Naturally, it doesn't have such settings because you can't switch it. Yes, because here the camera is different, and if you take a photo with it, it's already here. Of course, look. Well, just if you compare what happened and what happened, look here how pixelated everything is, noisy, and how much everything here has become clearer. The 15th is just real progress. Plus, this phone too can still shoot video 4K 60 FPS. One of the coolest there, you need to turn on this high efficiency to shoot in short. This is one of the top phones now for video shooting. Really, the video shoots just amazingly like the photo, both on the back and... Let me take a couple of photos in night mode, it's great. There's nothing to say, I'm completely the iPhone camera. Pigo is the only thing I would add a little more zoom, and that's it. But this is the real result. Close to ideal, does everything correctly, quickly takes photos clearly, camera works well, Swiss watches don't lag at all, don't slow down, everything is fast, smooth, in general, really cool. I like the sound quality on the iPhone. Well balanced directly. Juicy, does not wheeze, does not squeak. Not squeaky. None of the speakers the blanket over itself. That is, they sound approximately equivalent in general. It's really made conscientiously. Also, here guys, there is support for Wi-Fi 6 here, Bluetooth 5.3 type. C. Here, by the way, the old version. Well, you can say slow USB 2.0, that is, high-speed transmission via cable, doesn't support it, as I understand it. USB has already been modified for the third time. The battery has also grown a little and has a capacity of 3,349 hours. Yes, this is not much, but here it is. There is support for wireless charging 15, but there is support for charging wireless reverse. That is, you can charge any Bluetooth headphones from this phone if they have wireless charging function. Well, there's something else here too. Battery non-removable battery can be changed if something happens. In general, this battery is not bad for a small volume small. Yes, of course, it's not 5,000 like on Android, it's not 6,000. But if you need a good one, Autonomy, you can take the iPhone 15 Pro Max. There is a bigger screen and a bigger battery, but for a day, this phone is enough for a day. It should be enough because on the 14th, it was enough for a whole day. I was pleased with its autonomy. It was not record-breaking, but at least it was discharged. Predictably discharged evenly and stably. That is, it did not seem to present any surprises here as the Android I get discharged in jerks very quickly somehow, and sometimes it sits down quickly, and sometimes, on the contrary, the iPhone doesn't sit down for a long time, somehow it sits down more predictably or something. So you always have a rough idea of how long it will be enough for you and for me. These little iPhones were always enough for a day. Well, with the exception of the old versions of the 7th, 8th there for me, even for a day. There was not enough SE of the first generation of the second generation. There was not enough for a day, but these are the 30th, their 11th. I consistently had enough full-time work for a day until late in the evening, and here the battery is still, and increased it a little bit. So I think that in general there won't be any problems with this either. Should total what I can say? You know how it feels? I think this phone would be good, 600 here, really. Its red price, 600, 930. Do I regret what I spent? Well, it's a little bit of a pity. Yes, 930. I could, of course, buy some Samsung 23 Ultra. Although I have it, and of course it will be much, much more sophisticated. That's exactly the word sophisticated that fits well. But will it? It is balanced and for a long time as relevant as the 15th iPhone. No, the 15th iPhone will be updated yet 7 years probably. He has 7 long years of updates ahead. His life cycle is just beginning, and his people, they will take it in 5 years. Look, many people are now taking the iPhone 11, which is from the 19th year of production and is 4 years old. Many people are just starting it now, and the iPhone will really become widespread. I think also in about 4 years. When you're right, you will start meeting more and more people with it when it becomes cheaper, maybe 300 to 400. Then it will be easy. Perfect purchase. That's the truth. By that time, what Androids will be is also a question for 300. 400, maybe some folding phones will be folding Androids. That's an interesting phone, probably not worth the money. It's probably not worth it after all. Switch from the 13th to the 14th iPhone to the 15th, but from the 11th to the 12th, I would switch because there are still new cameras anyway. The processor is still the 11th. On the 12th of Athos, he becomes not younger every year, but older, and of course earlier or later they will stop updating them. But the 15th iPhone will still be relevant for a very long time. It has a huge future-ahead life cycle of the guy. As you saw 126,000 points with such performance, I I think that it's practically impossible to kill him with updates, and it's difficult to make some kind of update that it won't run, and some game that some application won't run. So if you need a compact iPhone but don't want to overpay for the firmware, and want something new, you can take Tag 15. Beautiful, stylish, small, and the cheapest of the line. If you take 15 Plus, it is more expensive than 15 Pro, even more expensive than 15 Plus. Well, 15 Pro Max is already worth it, like a 4 that is, well, on one side is 15 Pro Max on another 4. I think you understand what choice you should make. That's all. Good luck to everyone. Success.